Brad Seavers here from SeaversRacing.com. You can follow us at Brad Seavers Race on Facebook, Seavers Race on Instagram and Twitter, and Seavers Race on YouTube. Welcome to our third episode of the Nuts and Bolts of Racing. So I'd like to talk today about steering quickeners, a little bit about steering pumps, and steering boxes. So first I'd like to say is, in your typical street car, your steering box is a 16:1 ratio. That's how many times you have to turn your steering wheel for the tires to turn all the way. In a race car, we like to see anywhere from an 8:1 ratio to a 6:1 ratio. Now, if you have a standard steering 16:1 ratio, you can buy a quickener. Now, this is a 2:1 quickener, so for every one turn of the steering wheel, you get 2 turns at the steering box. It's a very economical way to do it, and it works very well. As long as you're okay with the resistance you have in the steering. Now, if you have a normal steering, aftermarket steering pump, and you have too much resistance, you can change the flow valve. They typically list 3 or 4 different flow valves. The bigger the flow valve, the less resistance it takes to turn. The speed is the same, but you can change how it feels in the car. This has got a standard one, but if you would like it to turn easier or less feedback in the car, you can go to a bigger flow valve, which in turn gives you more fluid and makes the car turn easier. Now, on the typical steering pump that I run, it's a tandem pump from KSE. These guys are great to work with. They can answer a million of your questions, and they're really awesome guys, and they make some really great products. This is a tandem pump. So you have a fuel pump on the back, your power steering pump is here in the middle, and it runs off the back of the engine. Your drive flange where your tranny slides into, you get it with a pulley on there, and then you run a belt. So it's hidden behind it, no damage to it. I really like the setup. It's a very high volume, high pressure pump. So it feeds a lot of fluid to the steering rack, or to the steering box, so it's really free. Well, I had an issue with that. I didn't like how free the car felt when I was driving it. I couldn't feel what the car was doing. I couldn't tell what the tires were doing. So I called Sweet Manufacturing. These guys do a great job, and they're very helpful. So I called them, I gave them the serial number off of the steering box, and they told me actually who bought it, what car it was put on, and it was the original box that came on the race car that I do have. So pretty simple. I got an 8:1 ratio, but I wanted to have more resistance in the steering wheel. So they explained to me that these numbers on the front, where your steering shaft comes into, this is a .185. Now that is a really easy valving. The steering wheel turns very easily. I needed more resistance in the steering, so we went to a .210. So that let me feel the steering more in the car when I was to turn the wheels. So I could feel what the tires were doing, what the car was doing a lot easier. So it worked out really well. You have any questions, you can give these guys a call. They're awesome. They do a great job at explaining everything to you. And so we put a different box in the car, and it did exactly what I wanted it to. I wanted to feel the car and not have that really free feeling. So hopefully this helped you guys out with any questions you guys have on your steering boxes, steering quickeners, or a little bit of questions about your pumps. So don't forget, you can follow us at Brad Seavers Race on Facebook, Seavers Race on Instagram and Twitter, and Seavers Race on YouTube. I'm Brad Seavers, and I'm living the dream.